Hello, everyone, and welcome back, and welcome to our sixth edition of the Supporting Wellness series. I am Ia Afo, the Director of Training and Development for the Arizona ACEs Consortium, and this session is entitled Cultivating a Full Expression of Resilience. Ever since the trauma informed movement really started, there has been a lot of talk about resilience, right? There's this new concept of being resilient was introduced. And as time went on, we had people that were kind of debating if resilient was the appropriate word, if we want people to have to endure things. I think the idea of arguing it was twofold. One, I think, was about should people have to endure certain things, or should we solve issues on a root level so people don't have to endure adversity, toxic adversity in life? And I think the second piece was we had people from communities saying, hey, I am resilient. Don't you tell me how to be resilient because I'm still here, right? And over time, I really developed this phrase, a full expression of resilience is the way I like to think about it, because we can have survived, we can still be here and making it, but are we thriving? So the idea of a full expression of resilience is creating the opportunity for us to thrive. And so I'm going to talk about eight um, ways of looking at things, or eight aspects to creating a full expression of resilience. In previous trainings, I've talked a lot about having a salutogenic approach rather than a pathogenic approach, because when we have this salutogenic approach to things, we're assuming that people and that we ourselves are perfect and whole and is exactly as we should be, and we have strengths and capabilities, um, and we can build on those strengths and capabilities to create a life where we're thriving and to create the life that we really want and optimal health. So we can start with, if we think about creating a full expression of resilience, we can start with optimism, focusing on the strengths. What strengths are there and how can we build on them? A pathogenic lens says that we're looking for what's wrong, what's broken, what needs to be fixed. How can we fix someone else that's broken? And this perspective and optimism says, let's just look at the strengths. Let's focus on the strengths, and focusing on the strengths will absolutely fill in the gaps as we go. So, first step, optimism, or one step really, optimism. The next is our attitude toward life. How about we focus on actions that we can do, right? We focus on the can do instead of focusing on what's not possible, right? Often we're dysregulated when we're in situations and we feel that we have no control over them, or we're trying to control someone else's actions, someone else's behaviors. We're trying to control situations that we really don't have control over. And we spend all this time ruminating on how can I change that person's actions, or how can I change a particular situation. If we focus on what we can do, then we can still be able to have resilience in the face of adversity. Next is emotional awareness. And this is the key to good communication. We've got to be aware of how we're showing up. We have to be aware about what our emotions are, what our feelings are, how are they, how are we expressing them, how are we being perceived by someone else. And when we have good emotional awareness, we have the opportunity to have good communication. um, Regulate the self, right? Self regulation. So, our response to circumstances, um, is going to be very important, right? How are we able to regulate ourselves? So, our response to circumstances or an organizational response, or how our organization responds to adversity, responds to difficult circumstances, is going to become very important. So we have to move into difficult circumstances being aware of our current level of regulation or dysregulation, right? How can we control our own uh, regulation? How can we control how we're showing up? Social support. In order to have a full expression of resilience, we need social support. We need a network of family or friends. Because, again, and we talked about this in previous videos, we are, as human beings, we're wired for interconnectedness. We like to believe, especially in Western society, that we are individuals and that we exist in our own vacuum. And we know that this really isn't true. And surely this is not how we're wired as human beings. So, how do we create and access and nurture our network of family and friends, right? For our social support? Sense of humor. This has come up a few times, right? In our previous videos. Can we laugh at frustrations? And how can we incorporate laughter and humor into our day-to-day lives? One of the really big things, and we find this in so many indigenous cultures, the ability to laugh at frustration, the ability to reframe a situation so that we can find humor and laughter and joy in them. Self-belief, right? We need to be confident and have high self esteem. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe that we are worthy in order to have this full expression of resilience. And the ability to problem solve, right? And that's kind of like cognitive flexibility, right? Our willingness to adapt, our willingness to be flexible. Sometimes we get into a situation that's difficult and we become very rigid and everything is black or white. Well, it needs to be this way, and I need this to happen, and this to happen, and this to happen, or there's nothing I can do, and I can't solve this problem, right? When we become um, inflexible and, cognitively inflexible, then we really struggle to solve any problems and then to have a full expression of resilience. So there are 8 things that we can think about if we want to cultivate a full expression of resilience. Optimism, right? Focusing on the strengths, our attitude toward life, when we can focus on what we can do. Emotional awareness, so that we have so we have good communication. Self-regulation, so that we are aware of our response or our organization's response to difficult circumstances or adversity. How do we enhance, nurture our social supports, right? Our network of family and friends. Sense of humor. Can we laugh at our frustrations? Can we reframe things to find humor? Our self-belief, right? We need to have confidence and high self-esteem. And then our ability to problem solve, which is going to be dependent on us having cognitive flexibility. Optimism, our attitude toward life, emotional awareness, self-regulation, social support, sense of humor, self-belief, and ability to solve problems will help us to cultivate a full expression of resilience. I hope you are finding great use to these videos and techniques. And thank you again for showing up. And we will see you at the next edition. Take care and create a magical, magical day and week. Bye-bye.